Hello, my name is Eva and I'm the Ministry Facilitator for the Church's Ministry of Healing Ireland. 18th of March this year is a day of remembrance for everyone that we have lost in the pandemic, and day of remembrance of the impact the pandemic has had on our lives. We have all been affected differently in these last 2 years. Collectively, as much as personally, we have become aware, more so than before, how much we need God's healing. It takes time to remember. It will take months, probably even years, in order to really grasp the whole impact the pandemic has had on our lives. These days, we start the process. Let something that has made an impact on you surface these days and bring it into God's presence and offer it for healing. Let us start the process gently. We will do more tomorrow, next month, or whenever we are ready to take next step in this process of remembering. When we read the stories of Jesus and how he healed people while he lived here on earth, we notice that he encountered each person in a very personal way. He would look at them and speak to them. Jesus knew their story, but he also wanted to hear from them what they needed. In Jericho, before Jesus healed the blind Bartimaeus, he asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" He says the same question to you and to me. He says very personally to each one of us, "What do you want me to do for you?" In another town, when a leper fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you are willing, make me clean," Jesus told him, "I am willing, be clean." Jesus saw him, he acknowledged him. He acknowledged the pain and the need of those who approached him, and then he helped them. He sees you too. He sees what you have been through. He sees your pain. He sees your struggle with money. He sees the loss you experienced. He sees the bereavement. He sees the fear. He sees the tears. He even sees the tears that no one else has seen. He sees the feelings of failure. He sees you. And in that gaze, Jesus comes, stands in front of you. He puts his hand on your shoulder and he prays for you. Wherever you need healing, Jesus brings it through the relationship that you have with him. In the pandemic, we lost people. We lost human contact and social interaction for a time. We haven't had a handshake for 2 years. Touch has been taken away. Instead of comfort, embrace became a threat. A lot of our grief is about the interaction with others that we lost. During lockdowns, we couldn't go very far from our homes. We couldn't go to church. We could not meet family or friends. We could not be with our loved ones during their last hours spent on this earth. And very quickly we had to adapt to a different lifestyle, often very unnatural and counterintuitive to what we have been used to. Some of what we have been through reminds me of the story of a woman who was bleeding for 12 years and no doctor was able to help her. She noticed Jesus in the crowd. She approached him and she touched his garment. Immediately, she was healed. This was brave because her illness excluded her from society. Immediately as she touched him, she was healed. Jesus turned around and said, "Who has touched me?" Jesus didn't want her experience to be impersonal. He wanted to see her, to acknowledge that her faith has made her well. Jesus offers this personal experience, this personal encounter to you as well. He knows that we have all experienced the pandemic differently, but he tells you that your experience counts. Your experience is important to him. I invite you for the next minute or two to close your eyes and try imagine yourself in the scene where the woman touched Jesus' garments. Approach Jesus and touch his garments. Allow him to turn around, to look at you, and to speak to you. Allow him to see your need. Allow him to see you. Be free to pause the video and take as much time as you would like for this prayer of the encounter with Jesus. And then when you're ready, come back here. As you touch Jesus' garments, allow him to speak to you. We end this short time of reflection with a minute of silence for everyone who has died in the pandemic and everyone who has been deeply affected and scarred. We pause for everything we lost. We pause in the presence of God, whose presence is healing. Amen.